Annie of ByAnnie.com and Patterns by Annie. Thank you so much for joining us today for Live with Annie. As usual, we've started the stream a bit early. This helps us get everything set up and broadcasting properly to our various platforms. You can find a countdown clock on the screen showing how long it will be until we actually go live. While you wait, please connect with us and other viewers in the chat. Let us know where you are from and whether you're a new or longtime viewer. We'll see you live soon! Thanks again for joining us for Live with Annie. We are so happy to have you with us today. While you wait for the program to start, we hope you'll enjoy the content playing on screen. There's so much inspiration, so take a moment to tell us what you love in the chat. Don't forget there is a countdown clock on the screen so you know how long until we go live. It's Annie again, reminding you that we'll be going live with this week's episode shortly. There is a countdown clock on the screen showing how much time is left. You've got just enough time to grab some water or a beverage of your choice and a snack, and to connect with us in the chat. We'd love to hear what you've been working on this week. Again, it's Annie, back to remind you that we'll be starting this week's live very shortly. We've got a really fun episode planned for today, and we'll see you soon. Hi, I'm Annie of ByAnnie.com and Patterns by Annie. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 14 of season 5 of Live with Annie. In today's episode, we are visiting again with Elissa Ziccardi of Quilting Elissa. We will take a deep dive into Elissa's stunning Bella Quilt Coat pattern and the exciting new expansion packs that let you add details to the sleeves, front and back of the coat, and more. So stay tuned for tips, inspiration, and ideas for customizing your coat so that it's truly one of a kind. It is so wonderful to see all of you here. We know your time is valuable, and we really appreciate you spending it with us, even if you are catching us on the replay. Please take a moment to follow us wherever you're watching, and if you know someone who would enjoy this content, we would really love it if you shared the episode with them. Just tag them while you're watching so they can jump right in. We also love reading your comments, so be sure to interact with us throughout the show. We want to hear your thoughts, answer your questions, and learn from you too. If anything comes up, just drop your questions in the comments or chat, and we will do our best to respond before we wrap up. In our last episode, we visited with Elissa Ziccardi of Quilting Elissa about our brand new collaboration, and we talked about her new backpack straps and pockets pattern, which is designed to accompany our leader of the pack, courtside, and out and about patterns. Elissa shared lots of great tips for foundation paper piecing, otherwise known as FPP, and for creating your own unique backpack. If you missed that episode, or if you want to watch it again, remember you can find all the previous 196 episodes of Live with Annie on our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, or at ByAnnie.com. We've put up the links to make them easy for you to find. It is really a treat to welcome back Elissa Ziccardi to Quilting Elissa. And for anyone who hasn't met her yet, Elissa is a talented designer who blends her love of quilting with her expertise in garment and bag making. Her projects are always bold, modern, and full of personality, with thoughtful details, precise techniques, and gorgeous color combinations. So today we are digging into one of her most exciting creations, the Bella Quilt Coat, along with the Bella Accent Sleeves and Bella Arcs and Beauties expansion packs that let you customize it with one-of-a-kind pieced and applique details. We'll explore sewing techniques, styling options, and all the ways you can make this coat your own. Please help me give a warm welcome back to Elissa of Quilting Elissa.
Hey, Annie. It's so great to be back.
It is wonderful to have you here. I really can't wait to talk about this quote pattern and the fun expansion packs that let people customize it. So for anyone, we're just going to jump right in today because we have so much to cover. But for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, the Bella Quilt Coat is a modern wearable quilted jacket that blends quilting with garment making techniques.
Yeah, absolutely. So I designed the coat to be stylish, functional, easy to sew, and the expansion packs just open up the opportunity for makers to get even more creative.
So let's start by talking first about the coat itself. Can you describe the coat and the different styles that you have designed within the pattern?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm kind of surrounded by like a world of coats around me, and I'm wearing one, and you look fantastic in yours also. I love
Thank
to
you.
see all that you have made. So we'll jump into those a little bit in a little bit so you can tell us all the details on those. But let's get into the two views. So the Bella Quilt Coat is a relaxed fit quilted jacket that is available in a range of 10 sizes. It has two silhouettes to pick from, a view A and a view B. So we're going to start with view A just because alphabetical. So view A, I apologize. I'm going to turn my back to you for a moment. View A is going to have a contrasting yoke front, yoke back, and contrasting collar, as well as a contrasting sleeve with an optional accent sleeve. This is included in the pattern. You do not need one of the expansion packs to just pop in this fabric here into the accent sleeve. Fun fact on the accent sleeve is that it could be mixed and matched with view B as well. View A allows you to show off a hero fabric on the front of that one. And so that's going to be your option for multiple. View B is going to be your option just to show off one of your favorite fabrics that you just are like, I love this fabric. I want to show it off in all of its glory. And you're going to use it throughout the entirety of the coat. So the sleeves, the collar, the front, the back, all of the things on the coat. So both of the coats are fully lined. There is no binding at all. You are not going to quilt through the lining at all. You're only going to quilt through your exterior layers. Each of the silhouettes versions are going to have a zipper front closure, the new ByAnnie 50-inch separating zipper. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. It's also going to have a zipper guard, and both of the silhouettes are going to feature inseam pockets. I'm a pocket gal, as you know, and so I like to have my pockets on the side, super functional. That way I can still show off all my favorite stuff on the outside. So those are going to be the two basic silhouettes of the coat. And then obviously we'll talk about the expansion packs as well a little bit later on, but those are the two as they exist, view A and view B, in those range of 10 sizes, 1 through 10.
All right. I really love having both of those styles. And I have to confess, I hadn't sewn a wearable in many, many years. And I was really a little bit intimidated by the thought of doing that. But I was determined to be able to wear a Bella Quilt Coat in the booth at the show. So I went to work. About a week before we left, it was when I finally made time. But with your encouragement, I dipped my toe in the water. And so the first one I made was this one right here. I may have to scoot this over so you can see it well enough. There we go. So this is view B, which again, like you said, is the quicker one to make. I figured if I only get one done, this is where I'll start. This is a new fabric from Free Spirit designed by eBond, and it's called Punked, which is short for punctuation. So it's all got all kinds of punctuation marks on it. But I love wearing this. It's really cute with black jeans, and it just went together so easily. I loved that I didn't have to worry about bindings. I didn't have dimensional stuff to worry about, and everything just fit together so well. So I was so happy with how that one turned out that I decided, all right, I did a view B, now I'll try a view A. So I took it up a little notch with this one, and this is made using some fun new fabrics from Cave Facets collective that's coming out in February. And I made this one just as the pattern directs. So I added a strip of the quilted floral fabric down the middle of the sleeves to give it some interest, and I did the contrast collar, yoke, and sleeves. Super easy to do. So by the time I finished both of those, I thought, okay, I'm ready to add a little FPP to the coat. So then I broke open the accent sleeves pattern, and I pieced some strips for the sleeves on this coat that I made using a fabric by Val Wells for Free Spirit called the Wisdom. And so as you can see here, I did FPP strips down each sleeve. And of course, I picked the most involved design for the strips. But when I texted you and said, oh my God, am I going to be able to do this? You assured me that the juice is worth the squeeze. So I persevered, and I really love how this coat turned out. So really, all in all, I made 3 jackets in the week or 2 before market, and that was just sewing at night and on weekends because I was at the office for long hours each day. So now my head is already spinning with my ideas for my next coat because you really have created a monster here.
Yeah, I mean, the juice is so worth the squeeze. It's absolutely beautiful. I love that you have fully caught the quilted garment and FPP bug. I love foundation paper piecing FPP because it's super precise. It takes a very small amount of fabric, as you can see, as you pieced. A little bit of time when you get into some of those intricate designs, but always worth it. And it's pretty low fuss. I mean, no fuss. any sewing machine that can sew a straight stitch, you can foundation paper piece on. And so I absolutely love that. One of the things that I did want to mention is that as Annie was talking about her different versions of coats, the coat also includes instructions for lengthening and shortening. And inside of your pattern, you're also going to get your full size pattern pieces, your template sheets. So you don't have to worry about sizing anything up. There's absolutely no reason, to go and copy anything other than tracing your patterns, and you're always going to be able to preserve those full size pattern sheets. So, wanted to make sure that I noted that in case we got a question later on. Say it early on in the episode.
For sure. That is for sure. When I have to say, one of the main reasons that I gave up on making wearables was trying to get something to fit my body, because I would see this cute garment on a pattern cover. I'd spend the time and money making it, and then I'd be disappointed because it didn't fit. And a lot of that, I'm sure, was on me because I probably wasn't following the directions, although I don't know that they had the directions in them like you've put in here about how to measure and do all that. So I really love the fact that this pattern includes 10 sizes and that I could measure my body and then customize the pattern so that I knew it would fit me. And your instructions were really clear in the pattern and in the video about how to measure and how to choose the best size for one's own body. So can you talk a little bit about the sizing options that come in the pattern?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to address some of those questions and kind of open up the floor to a little bit of education. So hang with me if you are specifically a quilter that has never sewn a garment before. I really want to bring everyone to the table and welcome you in, because sewing garments is a ton of fun once you learn the language of sewing them. So the Bella Quilt Coat is based upon actual body measurements of the individual maker. This is what is generally referred to as made to measure. Makers should reference the back cover of the pattern. As you saw, it was just up on the screen. It's also included in the instructional booklet for you. You're going to see that size range of 1 to 10 right where it says body measurements. That size line that you see shown as that range of 1 to 10 in the chart indicates the pattern line that will be traced on the pattern sheets included in your Bella Quilt Coat pattern, those 3 full-size pattern sheets templates that we just talked about. The size, the quote-unquote size, does not indicate a size label or a tag that you would find when shopping for a finished garment in a store. This is what is often referred to as ready to wear. Ready to wear is clothing that is made for the general public and sold through stores that is typically mass produced. For instance, sizing such as extra small, small, medium, large, etc., or a numerical size range, such as 2, 4, 6, 8, for instance. Those are standard measurements and ready to wear. And standard measurements are not hard and fast. Pattern companies, pattern authors are going to use standard measurements as a reference tool only when they are building their pattern blocks, also called slopers. And they're going to use those pattern blocks to develop their own individual sizing chart and grading rules for those pattern blocks. So grading is how we scale up or down, and we're able to move between multiple sizes. Excuse me, I'm going to grab a drink really quick. Lots of talking right there. So both independent pattern companies and the industry standard Big Four are going to have their own size chart. So while you might see some similarities in size charts, there's all sorts of things to take into account. And standardized measurements are just that. They're just a reference guide. It's not very often that you're going to find someone that's going to fall into the idealized standard of measurements, because we could have 2 people that are wearing the exact same size and they can totally differ in height and body composition. So it's really important that you're using your actual body measurements. And I really want to make sure that everyone hears this with an absolute, take a deep breath and remember that measurements are just a piece of data. They're just a piece of data. We're all going to have them. They are going to change. Trust me, after the holidays, I'm a totally different size than I am before the holidays, and depending on what I want to put underneath my coat. So that's going to be body measurements in a nutshell. Again, a little bit of education, lots of probably new terms if you're brand new to garment sewing, but important things to understand, because you can take that knowledge out into other garments that you're going to be making in the future, because I really hope that you've been encouraged and inspired by making a Bella Quilt Coat, that you want to go out and make other things for yourself. So in this pattern, we're going to be working with the big 3 measurements, which are going to be your chest, your waist, and your hip. And in the add-on video, we show exactly how to go over those, as well as in the instructional booklet. I have a line drawing of a body. It's called a croquis, and it's going to show you exactly where to measure. So fullest part of your bust, and it's going to let you know where your arm should rest, at what point on your waist it should go, and then as well as your hip. So when you flip that pattern over, if you fit into those measurements, if your body is inside of those measurements, know that the pattern has included ease for you. So regarding design ease.
Before you go too far into that, I wanted to mention too, I know that when Glow and I did our measurements, it was really interesting because if anyone's seen Glow next to me, she's several inches taller and she's very slender. She has wider shoulders, but when we measured bust, waist, hips, we were almost identical. But you know, she couldn't put on my jacket that I made, and when I put on the jacket she made, it didn't fit me right. So what we realized is she's much taller from here to here than I am. So there was a lot to consider when you looked at that. And I'm really so glad that you added the lines for shortening, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So I'm gonna let you go back. I love that this is a relaxed fit jacket. I know you have built some ease in, so talk to us about that.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so ease. So design ease, you've probably heard about ease that has been built into something. So design ease has been built into your finished jacket, or excuse me, into the finished measurements chart. So when you open up the instructional booklet, it's going to say measure for your ideal fit. On one side of that page, it's going to have that croquis where you're going to measure for your bust, your waist, and your hip. It's going to give actual body measurements underneath that. On the opposite side of the page, you're going to see a finished measurements chart. You will notice that there is a difference in the measurements, and that is what is called ease. Ease is built in that allows the garment to, that is added to a pattern block that is made so that you achieve a desired fit, for instance. So the Bella Quilt Coat I designed to be a relaxed fit quilted jacket. So it has what is called positive ease, meaning because it's made from woven fabrics and it is relaxed fit, it has positive ease. So you're going to go up from your actual body measurements. Negative ease is a thing also, and that's going to be for closer fitting garments. Perhaps you have a pair of workout pants or, a jacket or something that fits closer, something that's very tailored. That's going to have negative ease. Most commonly, negative ease is going to be found in your knit garments. So garments with negative ease, closer fitting, garments with positive ease, relaxed fit, wider fitting. The pattern pieces have been drafted and graded to include that ease for you. And in the Bella Quilt Coat, you're going to get approximately 6 inches in your chest and your hip and 14 inches in your waist. This is typically because of the way that our bodies carry weight as women. Men can absolutely make this pattern. I know that one was made for Casey and he got a ton of compliments when we were at market. Men also have a bust, a waist, and a hip. So all bodies do regardless of that. But that's going to be a little bit of touching on ease. So the ease has been built in for you. So don't shy away if you see sizes 1 through 10 and you say, oh, I'm a 16 or an 18 when I go into the store and I buy a garment. Again, ready to wear is totally different than made to measure. So I do encourage you to at least take a look at that back pattern cover, see if those measurements are going to work out for you. You can find that information on this tab of the supply list on ByAnnie.com also.
Yeah, that is really awesome. And I have to say, I really love the ease that's built in here because it just makes it super comfortable to wear. And I love being able to put my hands in the pockets and kind of slouch a little, but it's a super comfortable jacket. So what happens if a maker is between sizes? What do you recommend for someone to select their ideal fit if they don't fit exactly within a size?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I can use myself as absolutely an example of that. I typically, if I'm going to be making a garment, I'm going to have a smaller bust, but my hip or my waist is always going to be larger. Typically, it's going to be my hip. So I'm going to size up. That is just so that I am as comfortable as possible at all points in my jacket. I'd rather have more room than I necessarily need in the chest, for instance, and have the appropriate amount of room in my hip. There is no instruction in this pattern for grading. If you are a maker that has a garment background or has garment making skills and you know how to grade between sizes, I say 2 thumbs up, absolutely, go for it. But that is not going to be included in this pattern. There's no jump sizing, so you're not going to have a terrible amount in between size to size. But my best suggestion is to size up that one to get where you need to be the most comfortable. Also included in the pattern, so I'm going to say it out loud, is I encourage you to make a muslin if you are not sure where you're going to land. Now, I don't expect you to make a full muslin. You don't have to make a full entire quilt coat all the way through. We're not going to be using a crazy thick amount of batting. Remember that there's no binding in here, so it's not going to be a quilt that was pre-done that you cut down to size. But you're going to make a muslin. So I'm going to grab some muslin. I've got some muslin on a bolt here. So in case anyone's not familiar with what muslin is just a basic plain woven fabric, and it's used for testing the fit of a garment. You don't have to complete the full jacket, like I said. It's incredibly nondescript. It's pretty inexpensive. Check around at your local quilt shops. Ask if they have muslin fabric. Someone let me know. I actually had someone that said, hey, I didn't have any muslin or I couldn't get my hands on some, but I had 100% king size cotton sheet. And I thought, that's brilliant. So I want to pass that along. Use something that's going to be 100% cotton and you can cut it up. It's going to work the same way. But it's just an opportunity for you to make that shell and just make sure that it fits, that you're happy with the different areas that it's going to fit into.
That is such good advice, and actually is what I did, because I wasn't sure where things were going to fall out on me, and I knew I'd feel way better cutting into fabric that I only had limited amounts of, knowing for sure that it was going to fit when I was done. So, okay, so we've measured our body, we've recorded our measurements, we've selected the size and made a muslin to do that, we've picked the silhouette that we want. What's the next step when we're ready to cut and sew?
Okay. You know what I'm going to say.
I do.
Okay.
Same thing I would say. Let's see if anyone listens to either one of us.
Okay. It's really, really important because you're going to glean so much valuable information from this step. Please read your pattern. I know we just want to do the sewing, right? But I'm going to implore you to please, please, please read your pattern. Like I said, there's so much valuable information. We're going to go over preparing your measuring for your body, as we've gone over, looking at the lengthening and shortening lines. Once you've decided, like you said, Annie, you definitely took your coat up and you shortened yours. So you don't want to miss the lengthen and or shorten information that's going to be in the pattern. It's going to give you an illustration for lengthening and for shortening, as well as that text information. There's also going to be a reminder that says, remember, if you lengthen or shorten your coat front and back, you also have to do the same thing to your zipper guard. That doesn't mean that you have to lengthen or shorten your sleeves, but that information is going to be in there. One of the really big things that I want to talk about when you're reading through your pattern, not to be missed, is preparing your pattern sheets. As I said, you are going to get full-size pattern templates, those pattern pieces, pattern sheets, however you would like to refer to them and however your brain understands them. It's all the same thing. They're full-sized, and you're going to trace those pattern sheets. That way you preserve your pattern. Like I said, we're not all going to be the same size all the time. And if there is a reason that I want to lengthen or shorten this one, but I don't want to do it on the next one, if I've cut into my master patterns, now I no longer have those. I may have lost the pieces. I've got tape and junk all over it. And chances are, if I'm using those pattern pieces and I'm tracing them down and I'm cutting them over and over and over, I've lost the integrity of that size. It just gets smaller and smaller. So read your pattern. Don't forget to prepare your pattern sheets. All the included cut charts, everything else that's going to be in there. I really want you to make sure that you're transferring all of your markings and notches once you open up your pattern sheets. Annie, do you have a set of pattern sheets in front of you by chance?
I do.
My space is limited. Oh, awesome.
So
okay,
I
so
have
as
on
you can
top
see,
the sleeve.
yeah.
Is that okay? Just look at that one.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay. That's perfect. So you can see that the full-size pattern sheet is not crazy large, that it's not too much to deal with. In that top left corner up there by your hand, Annie, there is going
right
to
here.
be a body measurements chart, a finished measurements chart. There's going to be a size key for you, so that way you can follow your size. It's going to be labeled on your pattern sizes 1 through 10, but it's also going to be a code. So one's going to be a dash line, one's going to be a solid line. You're going to follow your size line, and that's going to go over between all of those sheets. It's also going to have a symbols list at the very top up there. That's going to have places that are going to indicate where to place the pattern on a fold, where there might be a pocket placement line, where there is a lengthen and shorten line, where there might be an apex bust for reference. Again, all of the things that you're going to have on your pattern sheet, you're going to see how important it is to preserve those patterns. So you're going to have your tracing paper, and you're going to lay that down. You're going to lay your tracing paper on top of your pattern sheet. And we have two different types of tracing paper to show you today. I know that Annie has what's called a red dot tracing paper. I use Pellon 830 Easy pattern. They're both lightweight. They're both translucent. As you can see directly through the pattern. And you can see all of those lines. And so all you have to do is just trace on all those lines. You're going to use a tracing or marking pencil of your choice. Transfer everything over that you see on there. It's going to tell you how many pieces to cut, whether it's a mini quilt, whether one is from the lining. You did take your sleeves up nice and short. I love that you can show this.
I folded up, I think 3 inches on my sleeves because I don't like long sleeves. I like them a little bit shorter. I'm used to like a 3/4 inch or a 3/4 sleeve. So yeah, I saved a lot of fabric.
And that's great. And you can see, so Annie just mentioned that she folded that up. That's going to be included in the pattern. It's going to tell you to fold it on top of itself, not to cut it for shortening.
Yeah, here's the line right here.
Perfect. So as you can see, they're not
shortened my jacket if you want to see that. So
yeah. And you can really see right where it's folded. Nothing's cut there. So if for some reason Annie wants to take that out, or she's making her quilted coat for another person and they don't need it shortened, all she has to do is just release that fold, and her traced pattern is perfectly intact. So that's awesome. So I know we were going to talk about the tracing paper. So I have my 830. It looks exactly like yours, except mine doesn't have red dots on it. It also comes on a bolt, and it's nice and super wide. So you're not going to need very much to actually trace that over. And it folds nice and flat also.
I took this, I don't know how wide that one is. This one is 46 inches wide. And I laid out the things and looked at the sizes. I could fit all the way up to the largest size 10, right? On about 2 yards of this. So you could easily get that. We are not carrying this, but this is readily available at the various distributors. And so if you're having a hard time finding this, just ask your local quilt shop if they will order it for you. They can order it on the bolt, and then they can cut it for other people too. So
yeah. And I think you'll be surprised when you walk into your shop and you ask for tracing paper. Someone's going to say, "Yep, it's right here." And it may be something that you've never looked for on the shelf before because you've never had a reason to. It's really great for tracing templates as well. So there's just an endless possibility for using, pattern tracing paper. Super fun fact: you can absolutely iron on low heat. Low heat. Everyone heard me say that, right? Low heat, your pattern templates, because they are going to come folded up, and you can easily fold them back down and stick them right into the bag that your pattern is going to come in. Same thing with your tracing paper. You should be able to iron that back out, fold it up, iron it back out when you go to make your next coat, and you'll be good to go. We can't forget about the cutting labels. The cutting labels in your add-on video are going to be included as a printable version. They are also on page number 1 of your pattern sheet. But we have a big bubble at the top that says, wait, preserve your pattern sheet, okay? Go to your add-on video, download those labels. That way you can use the printable labels and you can stay organized throughout the entire project. You know that I love to organize a project, so it had to have labels.
All right. Yeah, I'm really happy that you put those labels in there too, and those lines for shortening it, just so that you could really make it fit your own body. I can't tell you how much I appreciated that. I also really appreciate that you have designed this pattern so that quilters who are more used to making quilts or bags or wall hangings can tackle a wearable project. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the entire construction is traditional quilting techniques, right? So mixed with garment construction methods. So it's really approachable to anyone who's willing to try. I always say this: if you can make a mini quilt, you can make this jacket.
Amen. So, what are some of the techniques that people are going to learn as they do this or use as they make a Bella Quilt Coat?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create our quilt sandwich. So I touched on mini quilts, so we're going to create a quilt sandwich. That quilt sandwich is not going to be a full sandwich because you're only going to quilt your main fabric to your batting. Batting is going to be against the bed of your machine. So it's totally approachable for domestic machine. You don't have to have a serger to make this coat because all of your seams are going to be enclosed. There's not going to be any binding. And view A silhouette, the one that has the yoke. Let me make sure I can get this in screen. I've got a smidge of a delay and I always turn it the wrong direction. There we go. Okay. So you're going to make a mini quilt for the front and the back, as well as your accent sleeve. Okay, so in the pattern, it's going to give you the instructions. You're going to make your whole sleeve mini quilt. And then if you're going to include your accent sleeve, it's going to tell you exactly how to put that in and exactly how to cut that. You can do that with either your accent sleeve, or you can do that with one of the Bella accent sleeves in the expansion pack. I'm going to grab a coat really quick that has one, just so that you can see. Here is view A, total view A silhouette. There's my front, and I've just put an accent, one of the 10 options in the Bella Accent Sleeves expansion pack, in that side sleeve instead of the fabric. So it's not all of the crazy stuff. I didn't have to add everything to it, but I wanted a little bit of pizzazz, a little bit of zhuzh. So I added one of the Bella Accent Sleeves. So there's the two options, either something with just a fabric inset, or this has the Bella Accent Sleeve that's going to be included inside of it. Okay, so that is going to be those first ones, the first couple that we're going to go through. The next ones are going to be, I apologize, it's so dry here, and we got a whole bunch of snow, so I'm crazy getting adjusted to winter already.
And you're
everyone's
talking
going to learn how to, I know, lots of talking. This is going to be super odd where I'm going to like plant this up here, but I want to see if I can get the inseam pocket. So everyone's going to add an inseam pocket here. Oh, I turned her the wrong way. I knew I was going to do that. Okay, so inseam pocket, super simple approach that produces professional and functional results. It's fully lined. You know I love my pockets. I put pockets on everything. We're going to join the shoulder seam, which is going to be at the top here. We're going to join the shoulder seam. We're going to do that by using our sewing clips and attaching the sleeves with a domestic machine. Again, no serger required because there's no exposed seams. You're going to create a zipper guard. Zipper guard is very straightforward. It can be either made from your main or your lining, whichever you prefer. Or you can get super creative and add another fabric in there. It's your coat. I want you to make it the way that you want. So that's going to be your zipper guard there. And then it's going to have our new ByAnnie 50-inch separating zipper. So if you made a ByAnnie product and you put it in a ByAnnie zipper, you're used to how great these zippers are. They're extra wide, signature oversized zipper pull. And there's a little bit of information in this pattern. I went into a lot of effort into writing this portion of it because I really want to educate makers on the differences in separating zippers. Believe it or not, there are different types of separating zippers out there in the world. So we wanted to create a zipper that was going to be great for makers to use, one that you know is going to be super high quality. It's going to give you amazing results. We're going to talk about zippers a little bit later on in like a ton of depth. But the pattern also is going to include details for preparing and installing your zipper, which side you're going to put it on. The pattern sheets have been marked with alignment lines for at your top and your bottom. I know I'm trying to sneak that in there. So that's all going to be on there. So when I talked about marking those notches and all those markings that you're going to transfer, all that's going to exist in your pattern sheets. So I also want you to audition your pattern sheets when you're laying these things out so that you're knowing where you want them to go. So on your quilted jacket. So if you are doing a view A, you're going to have an alignment line on view A, which is going to tell you exactly where to line up that yoke and the bottom. So that way you're getting it front and back, easy peasy. It's going to match straight across the side for you. We're going to cover all of that in the add-on video as well. And again, with no binding in the Bella Coat, we're going to assemble the lining in the exact same manner, lining on your collar, lining on your insides, lining on your sleeves, all of the things. You're going to assemble your lining the exact same manner. It's just not going to have pockets on it. So technically when you're done, you're a quilter, but you're also a garment maker because you've made a standalone lining in there. You're going to attach your lining to the quilted exterior and you're going to turn it out. There's going to be a very simple process for turning out that's explained in the pattern. And hiding that seam in the inside of your lining so that way you never see it there. All right, I think that's all the construction stuff.
I mean, it really is so doable. There's just nothing hard about this. And all the lines and alignment lines that you made, it just make everything fit together and line up perfectly. So talk a little bit about fabric choices. What kinds of fabrics do you suggest using if someone wants to make a coat?
Yeah, so I suggest light to medium weight quilting cottons because it's not going to have a lot of bulk. We're used to using them. For the lining of my jacket, I have used a 108-inch sateen wide back lining. It is my preferred lining because it is just silky and soft and luxurious, and it does not matter what I'm wearing on underneath it. I can just slip it on super simply. It feels incredible on my skin. For instance, the one I'm wearing right now, I literally have a camisole underneath it and it is just like the softest, silkiest in the world. So that's my preferred. If I don't have a wide back lining on hand, or if I just found that I loved a different quilting cotton, absolutely 100% use a standard 42 to 44 inch width standard quilting cotton for your lining. I've done it in a number of quilt coats. I love it. It looks great. One of the other things that I have done is used a minky in mine as lining. When it gets really cold in Northeast Ohio, I can line with a minky. I do want to note on minky. Minky's a little bit thicker. They vary based upon where you're getting your minky from in terms of bulk. So I go up at least one, sometimes two sizes, depending on what I'm going to wear underneath my jacket. The layouts in the pattern do not include a suggested layout for minky. It is a little bit wider. Typically they're 56 to 60. I think there might be one that's a 62-inch width. So it's a little bit wider than standard quilting cotton, definitely not as wide as a 108. And so you're going to have to audition your pattern pieces if you want to go the route with minky. But again, test first, make sure that you know that you can sew with it, that you're going to be pleased with it. I just want you to be really, really happy and comfortable and feeling fabulous in your jacket. So my best advice is 1 to 2 size up if you're going to go the minky route.
That's such good advice. You know, Glow and I are always cold in the winter time here, so I think I have now another idea for another Bella Quilt Coat that I can make. So one question I have is, if you use minky on the inside, do you still quilt the main to batting? Do you put batting in between the layers, or is minky enough?
Yeah, I sure do. And the reason for that is because I really want to have that quilted look, right? That quilted jacket look. And if I'm putting quilt blocks on it, or any type of applique, or any type of quilting technique, foundation paper piecing, for instance, I just love that quilting. And what the batting that I use is not super high loft. And because I've sized up 1 to 2 sizes in the range, it's still going to give me great movement. The minky really just is for the warmth.
Got it. All right.
Great question.
You did talk about using a low loft batting. Can you go into a little bit more detail about what batting you prefer or suggest?
Yeah. So, and this is going to be totally, if you have a batting that you love, I want you to use it, but things that I want you to keep in mind are going to be the drape on your batting. So my preferred batting is Quilter's Dream Bamboo. I like bamboo because it has a beautiful drape. Being a garment maker before I was a quilter, drape is really important when selecting your fabric for the pattern that you're making. And because we want this to fall on our body and we don't want to be out and not be able to lower lower our arms or wrap our arms around our body or move freely, we want to make sure that we have really good drape. So that's one of the reasons that I love bamboo. One of the other reasons that I really like bamboo is because it keeps me warm in the winter and it keeps me cool in the spring and the summer. It's a low loft. I can wash it on cool, I can dry it on cool, or I can lay it flat. So for me, my preferred choice is Quilter's Dream Bamboo. Um, it's a combination of some cotton plus also some silk. So it's, again, super soft, has a great drape in it. Whereas 100% cotton is not going to drape as freely as something that's going to be a combination.
That's good to know. I know when we were in Houston too, the ladies from Hoffman came over, and one of them suggested for people who live in really warm climates, if they want something that may be a little bit cooler, they recommended a silk batting, which I have never tried. I know really nothing about it, but thought I'd pass that along. If anybody wants to give that a try, let us know how it works. So that would be fun.
I will say that Hobbs Tuscany silk is a gorgeous batting. It would
Really?
probably be my second runner up if I was choosing it for a jacket, for sure.
Jacket.
I can get Quilter's Dream Bamboo at my local quilt shop. So for me, it's like, it's perfect because it's right there. So again, ask at your quilt shop, if they'd be willing to get that in.
Yep, for sure. Well, and when we were ready to make it, of course, we were ready to make it right now, and nobody in town had Quilter's Dream. And so I called one of the stores, and she suggested one of the local long armors, and she had a different brand, and I can't remember now. I should have known that. Was it Winline? I can't remember now what the brand was, but it's a bamboo batting, and it worked really nicely too. It's a little bit different in weight than yours, but very similar. And the thing that I love too about the quilted thing is, if I was wearing this and this was made just out of cotton, every time I sat down, I'd have wrinkles building in it. Where
Yep.
having that batting in there and having that quilting in there just makes those wrinkles a little bit part of the garment that you expect them to be there. And to me, it just makes it look so much nicer when you wear it too. So another thing I love about it. So one thing I want makers to know is that you have really included some really nice illustrated cutting layouts in the pattern. So please talk about those a little bit and how makers are going to use those.
Yes. So the cutting layouts in the pattern are the suggested layouts. That does not mean that they are hard and fast rules. It is a reference point that you can say, I do not know how I'm supposed to lay this down on my fabric and how is it all going to fit and where should it go. So I've included suggested cutting layouts. I do want to note that those suggested cutting layouts are illustrated with the top size of 10 on them, meaning if you shortened your coat, you may not need all of the fabric that the pattern calls for as suggested required fabrics. If you're on the smaller end of the size range, you may not need all that fabric, but super fun. If you have extra fabric, now you can just put it into a bag that you have made because of course we need a bag to match our coat. But those are the suggested cutting layouts. I provided you one for 42 and 44 width, so standard width quilting cotton. And I've also provided one for a 108-inch quilt backing or 108-inch wide back, however, excuse me, you refer to those. It is going to show you that what pieces are placed on the fold, how many you need of each one, and approximately how to lay them out. So again, they are suggested. They are going to be, one is going to be the top, that's going to be the 42, 44. The one that's going to be on the bottom is going to be the 108. It is going to include a pattern inventory of all the pieces that need to be cut from your lining. Again, as I mentioned, the zipper guard can be cut from either the lining or a main fabric of your choice or an alternate fabric of your choice. But it's really important that you follow the grain lines. So the grain lines are very important in garment making because the way that patterns are laid out, they have specific curves that are going to allow the garment to hang and drape and lay on our bodies appropriately because of the curves that our bodies naturally have. So follow your grain line. So that means if your grain line is going up and down on the pattern piece, Please do not rotate your pattern piece to try to conserve fabric and cut the opposite direction, because what that means is that when you encounter a curve in your sleeve, for instance, or in your collar, or in your coat front, or in your coat back, that curve is not going to accommodate the natural stretch, the natural grain that is going to be the crosswise grain, salvage to salvage. So it's really important that you pay attention to that grain line. I know that we want to conserve our fabric. I'm not saying that that's not a great idea if you were just working in standard squares and boxes that then did not need to be cut up into garments, but it's going to be very important that you follow those established grain lines. I suggest auditioning your pattern pieces on top of your fabric first. Make sure that everything's going to fit. It's really going to depend on what I'm doing with my coats. Sometimes I lengthen my sleeves because I know I want to roll them way up on purpose, but still have them come all the way down to the end. So my sleeve might take a little bit more room than it normally does. But again, audition your pattern pieces. Our bodies have curves, therefore our garments are going to have curves. Therefore, your grain line is going to be really, really important in those illustrated suggested cutting layouts.
Good advice. And thank you for reminding us that those cut charts show the largest size. That's really helpful to know. I know that when I was doing mine, I was first of all making one of the smaller sizes. I was also adjusting the length of the sleeves and the coat by significant amounts, as you saw. So I was able to get by with quite a bit less fabric. And what I did is I just found a piece of fabric, laid out the pattern pieces to figure out the best layout, and that then helped me determine how much fabric I needed. And I did that before I ever started cutting so that I would know exactly what I wanted to do. And really, that's something I've always done since I started sewing. My mom taught us to sew when we were little. In my house, there were 5 girls. If you wanted a new dress, you had to make it. You didn't go to the store and buy it ever. And my mom grew up during the Depression. She was super frugal, and she always said, I can squeeze blood out of a turnip. And she really rubbed off on all of us. So it was really a point of pride when we were sewing clothes to have some fabric left over when we were done that we could use for something else. But I still remember her being really important to stress keeping the pieces on the grain the right way, because otherwise your garment didn't hang right, it stretched in weird places, and I didn't even think about the fact that you have to have that little bit of bias and extra stretch when you're putting in your sleeves and stuff. So thank you for clarifying that. So in addition to the cut charts for the lining fabric, you also have cut charts for the main and contrasting fabric and the batting. And I really like how you made it super user-friendly for makers to understand that they're just going to start with fabric rectangles and they're going to lay those on the batting then to cut those pieces out. And by doing those fabric rectangles, you made the pieces really manageable for someone who is quilting on a domestic machine.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a domestic machine quilter, as you know. In case you didn't know, now you know. I know Annie knows. So there is cut charts in the pattern that's going to be included. There is also a reminder, lots of reminders for you. If you've lengthened or shortened your coat, transfer those numbers over into those cut charts. So for instance, Annie shortened her coat. If she took 2 inches off, for instance, she's going to reduce her front and her back and her zipper guard by those 2 inches or whatever that manageable amount was. If you are a maker that is adding that length, if you are blessed with a long, tall frame, unlike myself, then you want to make sure that you're going to add that length in there. So it's going to be broken down between sizes 1 through 5 and sizes 6 through 10. That way it's manageable for both. So regardless of where you fall in, you don't have to say, oh, well, I was a 4 here this time, and in 3 months I'm going to be a 5, or I was a 5 and now I'm a 3, or I was a 6 and now I'm a 7, or I was a 9 and now I'm a 7. You're still going to fall into those 2 different buckets. There's going to be cut charts that are going to be for your view A. It's going to include all your contrasting pieces, your collar, your yoke front, your yoke back, your sleeves, as well as your front and your back for your view A. And then for your view B, everything is going to be out of that one fabric. So you're going to have cut charts for both of those. Again, it is noted height up and down by width. So even though we're making mini quilts, and even though they're just big rectangles at this point when we go and cut them, you still want to make sure that you are going height by width That way you can maintain the grain line so that when you lay your pattern piece on top of your mini quilt, your grain line's intact. So all of your curves are going to work. So your stretch is going to work. So there's also batting layouts. It's a suggested batting layout just to show you approximately how it's going to fall onto your batting. I gave 2 different recommendations for your batting, either getting it by a twin size, which is a 72 by 93 or 93 by 72, depending on how it's marked on the package, or 3 yards from a 60-inch width bolt of batting. If you have your own batting or you have pieces of batting, because I've got loads of pieces of batting hanging out and around my studio, you can lay those out on top. You can lay your rectangles on top and conserve your batting that way. You don't have to go and buy a brand new package of batting, or you don't have to go and get a brand new cut of batting in order to make that batting work. But I do want to remind you that underneath your accent sleeves, if you're making a view A, you are going to have a piece of batting on there, and that is included on the suggested layout. It's included in the written text instructions where it goes over view A, making your accent sleeve strip, as well as in the suggested layout for your batting. So you're going to get both of those. They, again, just suggested, but it kind of gives you an idea of how everything falls on the paper. It kind of, going along the lines of, I'm a pattern reader only. I am a picture reader only. I'm going to give you a combination of both throughout this pattern. So that way we can kind of train our brain to not miss any of the things. So again, going back to the read your pattern, there's suggested layouts for everything. So that way you can move through one step at a time.
That's super helpful. So I just wanted to know if you could share some tips on, I have really admired your jackets and the quilting on them. How do you decide how to quilt each of those little mini quilt sandwiches? Do you have some tips on that?
Okay, I do. I am a keep it super simple kind of quilter because free motion quilting is admittedly not my jam. If you're a free motion quilter and that's your jam and that is your skill set, I want you to show it off until the cows come home, and make sure you share it with me and then teach me your ways, because I really admire those that have that technical skill set. For me, I'm a straight stitch quilter. I love to show off my threads and really play with different thread colors. So I'm going to grab my gray work. Here she is. And I'm not sure if this is going to translate well onto the screen. So what I will say is definitely get into some of the up close pictures. But if you've seen on some of my work before, I like to alternate the alternate the thread color and lay those really close together. And I'm typically inspired by either the fabric that I'm using as my background, or any of the colors that I'm using in something else. And I just tend to like to show off my quilting that way with my thread. Let me see if I can get, this one might show up a little bit better. And this one I used just a serpentine crosshatch. I love a crosshatch in a quilting design. And that's kind of showing. So I've used a serpentine stitch here and just done a traditional crosshatch. I just love a basic crosshatch because it's super traditional. This coat has a little bit more of a modern fit and feel because it has those inseam pockets, and it's, made from, an approach of garment sewing for quilters. So I like to use that crosshatch because it's just a traditional and it looks really, really beautiful, and it's just simple to do. So those are my favorite ways to quilt. Again, if you're a free motion quilter and that's your jam, show off all your skills.
I agree completely. I really love, though, that idea of the straight lines, but using different colors, because that looks really cool, but it's very doable. I am planning a new Bella coat for myself. Another one. How many coats do I have planned here? But using some of Cherrywood's really beautiful hand-dyed fabrics. And of course, on this one, because I haven't done it yet, I want to do all the bells and whistles with the arcs and beauties and the accent sleeves, which I think are going to look really nice in solids. We'll have to see how it works. But I'd like to do the quilting on the mini quilts myself, and I'm going to definitely keep those tips in mind. I could see picking out the colors that I've used and doing the threads in that color on there. So thank you for sharing that. All right, so earlier you talked a little bit about the new ByAnnie 50-inch separating zippers. So tell us more about those and what makes you love them so much.
Ah, I love them so much. Could you tell? I perked up to get to talk about them. So I have my whole ring of separating zips here. They are 50 inches. If you saw me at festival or market, you would see me do this and it would drop down to the ground next to me. The reason that they're 50 inches is because we are all not shorty McStuffins like yours truly. If you are a tall drink of water, you're going to need a different size zipper than I'm going to need. So the 50-inch zipper is going to work for everyone that's going to make a Bella Quilt Coat. And it's going to also have an extra zipper slide included in the package for you. So that way, whatever zipper tape you have left over, you get to use that tape and that extra slide, and you're going to pop it into another project. For instance, I made this View B jacket right here with the apple green, and on my extra slide and zipper, I popped it into the front of my leader of the pack with my expansion pack. So it really is no waste, which is important to me. I try to be as little waste as possible. Again, one of the reasons I love the FPP is because I can use my scraps in there. But specifically on the zippers, they're the perfect solution as a garment maker that I had been looking for so many reasons. So this zipper is crazy, crazy lightweight. I think that's really underrated in a garment. So I really, really appreciate that it's so lightweight. It's super simple to shorten. I'm going to grab one of these off of here. Oh, perfect. I've got lipstick, one of my favorite colors. So I'll grab this one off of here and we can talk about it. So super, super lightweight. Again, underrated in a garment. You would be shocked at the amount of weight that can be added to your garment from a zipper. Super easy to shorten without having to mess with removing any metal teeth, because again, remember we've got our nylon teeth right here. So it's easy to cut with your scissors or your rotary cutter. For that reason, it's also easy to sew through because of the nylon coil, because I don't have any metal teeth in the way. It's a size 4.5-inch tape width. It's the same as all of our ByAnnie zippers that you know and love. The signature oversized ByAnnie pull, which is really important. You'd be surprised in a garment how important an extra large zipper pull is actually going to play a role when you're putting your garment on. It's available in 14 colors, so it's going to match all of your favorite ByAnnie mesh, all of your favorite ByAnnie fold over elastic, or you can mix and match. Don't forget that you can mix and match that zipper slide because it's going to match all of the ByAnnie tapes. You can mix and match your tapes. That also means once you've cut off this extra piece, you can mix and match the bottom of a tape or a top of a tape. That's only after you cut it off. Metal zippers, and I have experienced this the hard way, can become discolored or stain your garment. They can also corrode over time. One of the things that I do want to note, because when you're purchasing a zipper, it's very common that you will see zippers advertised as what's called a molded plastic zipper. And they're specifically advertised for jackets or garments because they're lightweight. But I am going to give you ask me how I know. They also melt. Because they're molded plastic, also called resin, they can melt when they're hit with heat. So while they make a great option for, an oversized, sturdy teeth that are going to be going in a zipper, they will melt when you hit it with heat, whereas the nylon's not going to. So those are all the reasons that I love this zipper. I am so, so excited to be able to talk about them and use them and share them and put them in all of the different colors. You can see I have the black one here. I've got a turquoise on this jacket. I've also got a turquoise on the jacket that I'm wearing here. Apple green in this one. I've got a lipstick going down the front of this. It's just a fun little bright pop to pull out some of those little hot pink fish that are in there. Annie, I know you used pewter in your blue coat, which was just gorgeous.
So pewter
yes, I
in this
love
one.
That.
We debated about navy, but we decided to go with the pewter because we wanted a little lighter to go with the lighter lining. And then I did blast off blue in this one, and boring black in that one.
That blast off blue is so striking. That blue is, I love that coat. I love that coat though.
I love this
but
coat
it is
too.
Just so striking. Yeah.
It's super comfortable. So one thing that you didn't get into is a little bit about the right insert versus left insert. Can you talk just briefly about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so believe it or not, there are two different types of zippers that are made in the world. Our zippers, the ByAnnie separating zippers, are a right insert, meaning when you hold the bottom, I'm going to undo one so I can demonstrate it. When you are putting your zipper in, this is called the insertion pin. And I know, Annie, you have one that you're going to be able to show us. And this is the retaining box. The retaining box sits on the side that has the zipper pull. So can everyone see the difference in those two? Has a little metal zipper at a little metal retaining box at the bottom with the pull side and the insertion pin. So this is going to be a standard right insert, meaning when you insert it into the retaining box, it is going to be held in the maker's right hand. This is technically my right hand. Okay. And this means that you hold it in your right hand, it pops in, and then you pull the zipper up with your left hand, okay? Or your right hand. You can swap whichever one that you would like. This is made for a universal basis, so it does not matter where you are living in the globe. You can use the standard right insert. You will see very commonly in the United States what is called a left insert. I don't know why, but the insertion pin goes on the left-hand side versus the right-hand side. It does not mean that you have a left-handed zipper or a right-handed zipper. It is really about which is a right insert and a left insert. We've included that in the pattern for you. We have illustrations of both. We also have the information of how you designate between a right insert versus a left insert. And that way you can walk through the process of making your coat. We've also noted that on the zipper guard on the pattern sheets, and noted it multiple times to remind you that if you have a left insert, you have to reverse the instructions. The instructions are written assuming that you are using a right insert zipper. Okay. Was there anything I was missing on right versus left, Annie? I'm trying to think.
I think you got it. And so,
Oh,
Jake,
good,
do
we
you
have
want to
yours.
just do a quick up close of this?
Thank you so much.
So here is, I'm going to open it. So here's the right side, if this was in my jacket. So here's the right side that has the insertion pin. Here's the left side that has the retaining box and the slide. So when you go to put your jacket in, you just slide that pin held in your right hand into the other side, and you use your left hand to pull up on it. So just ask for these new separating zippers at your local quilt shop. You can also find them at our website. We took these to market. Lots of stores picked them up. All the distributors have them too, so there's a good chance your local shop already has them. And if you go to our website, you will also find a video tutorial about the zippers, and it includes instructions for how you can attach that extra slide if you have some leftovers. And you just go to ByAnnie.com and search for Zip 50 or separating zipper, and that'll pop up so you can watch that. Also, our zippers, our easy video tutorial is going to be helpful if you want to make a double slide zipper using the leftover tape. And we did film another video that will probably replace the one that's on there that includes it in there. We just haven't gotten all the videos edited yet. So that's coming one of these days.
Yeah, all of the things. I know I touched on it a little bit about the extra slide, but sincerely, I think that is like chef's kiss that it's in the package because it's no waste. You really get to use it. And one of the most creative ways I love to use your zippers, and I always check out a bag and make sure I compliment the maker when I see it, is when they've mixed and matched those zippers. You know, the top of one, the bottom of another, a pull, you know, on another. And you can purchase all the extra slides. So let's say you're like, oh, I didn't know that. I'm learning something for the first time today. You have a whole package of slides that you can purchase on ByAnnie that are lights and darks. I think like ByAnnie Best. Am I calling them the right things?
Lights,
just the slides.
Lights, brights, darks, and not lights, brights, darks,
neutrals?
And neutrals. Yeah. And so
Okay.
if you got all four of those sets, there's 12 in each, you'd have all 48 colors. And if you combine the lights and brights, we have a set called spring. And if you combine the darks and neutrals, we have a set called fall. And then if you want, we have another set called best that has our top sellers. So lots of ways you can do those. And it super is really fun to mix and match the tape, mix and match the pulls. You can get so many fun looks. Thank you for mentioning that. One other point that I don't think we remembered to mention when we were talking about the coat that I think also makes it very, very comfortable for garment or quilters and bag makers is that you don't use 5/8 inch seams in this. You use 1/2 inch seams. So that makes it super manageable for all of us. Talk about that a little bit.
Yes, ma'am. So as a garment maker, I learned on a 5/8 inch seam allowance. So imagine my surprise when I learned how to quilt and was like, 1/4 inch seam. This is like insane. This is crazy town, right? I went from this super, super large, seam allowance to this very small, very precise seam allowance in a 1/4 inch. Imagine my mind was blown even more when I learned about scant 1/4 inch, but that's a conversation for another day. So I wrote the pattern with a 1/2 inch seam allowance because it's not 5/8, which is fiddly. If you're not a garment maker, a 1/2 inch bumped up from a 1/4 inch is a little bit more of a livable range, and it gives you a little bit of room to swim in and out. One of the things that I want to say about seam allowance is that, and you'll hear me say it in the add-on videos multiple times, is please, please, please give yourself some grace when it comes to your seam allowance. If you're going around a curve, it doesn't have to be perfectly straight in a pocket, for instance, because it's all going to be hidden inside. And if your seam allowance wanders a little bit in or gets a little bit short, as long as it's functional and it works, I say sometimes done is better than perfect. So that's the 1/2 inch seam allowance. It's just a little bit more user friendly. There's no areas where we have to trim down that seam allowance anywhere because we're working with that batting. If you are a garment maker and you're finding that because that is part of your background and you want to clip into a couple of those curves, definitely go for it. But that 1/2 inch is going to pretty much land and lay pretty nicely for you based upon the direction that you're going to be pressing those seams in and out. So thank you. Good tip. I'm glad you brought me back to that 1/2 inch so that we had the opportunity to talk about that.
Yeah, and that really does make it super easy. All right, I think we have covered pretty much everything about the coat, although I'm sure there's going to be questions, which we will address soon. But before we do that, let's talk about the accent sleeves and the Arcs and Beauties expansion packs. What do they include and how do you use them to enhance the coat?
Yes, yay! So you know that I am a more is more is more and then some kind of maker. That doesn't mean it has to be everyone's cup of tea. That's totally okay if it's not yours. But for those makers that it is, or if you're like, hey, I kind of want to expand my boundaries a little bit and I want to try a little bit of this, I've developed 2 expansion packs to go along with your Bella Coat. So I do want to note they do not have to be used exclusively with your Bella Coat. I encourage you to get creative and use them in other creative ways. They're foundation paper pieced expansion packs, same as the backpack straps and pockets that we talked about last week. So again, if you didn't see that episode, go back and check it out. But I'm going to grab my gray work coat and bring her on over and show her off because this is going to have a lot of what we're going to talk about. So for the accent sleeves, the accent sleeve expansion pack is going to include a set of 10 master foundation paper piece patterns. You're going to get 5 versions of geese. This is one of them in my coat. This is Flying Geese accent style number 1. Yes, I fussy cut all those pieces because again, I'm more is more is more. On your accent sleeve 1, you're going to have a side coordinate strip as well as on accent sleeve 2. You're also going to have 3 other versions, and I know Annie's going to pop those up on the screen. But then we're also going to have 5 versions of braided blocks. So you can see, Annie, do you want to walk them through or do you want me to point them out? Okay, so that's going to be number 1 is going to be on the far left. So that's going to be style number 1. And as you can see in the accent sleeve next to it, that's going to have a coordinate fabric strip running down the side. That is going to be applicable to style 1 and style 2 of the Flying Geese. Then you're going to, oh, look how pretty that looks. So that one just takes a little bit more time, a couple more pieces in it. I always say if you want something that's going to show off your FPP skills and you want to be nice and quick with it, go with style 1 because that extra side strip actually makes a really big bang for its buck. It's one of my favorites. So style 3 is going to be our basic middle of the road flying geese. So great for someone who's brand new to foundation paper piecing, or very easy to, to bring that out and put that together. Style 4 is going to be a little bit more work because you can see that our geese are getting thinner, but it really looks so, so cool once you have it in a full sleeve. These pieces absolutely went through the ringer at market and festival. I love how many times we got to show these off to everyone. And then accent sleeve style 5 for our flying geese is going to be a 2-piece, meaning, Annie, if you want to flip that one over on the back real quick, or do you have that finished piece? Yay! So this is going to be, the long piece is going to be 2 pieces that are going to come together. So this is going to be for the intermediate foundation paper piecer, because it's going to be this ongoing, never-ending infinity, round of geese that are going to go up and down. You really are going to use your hang pin technique that we show in the add-on video for this sleeve particularly to make those points come together. So those are going to be your 5 styles of flying geese. And then you're going to have 5 styles of braided blocks. So the very first one is going to be the super wide braided block, which is, that's going to be number 2. That one right there is number 1. You got it. So number 1 is going to be your quickest. It's going to be your largest piece. As you can see, it really only shows 3 colors in there. But remember, this is going to go all the way down your sleeve. So you can do a full rainbow if you're looking for a rainbow look. That's going to be style 1. Great for a brand new foundation paper piecer. Style 2 is going to be the sleeves that are in my gray work coat that I just had up on the screen. And that is going to be a more condensed version, a more time intensive version of style 1. And you get to show off more fabrics as you go through that. Style 3 that we're going to get into is going to be now we're starting to twist and play on that geometric shape. So it's just bringing in some angles. So you're still working with rectangles, still foundation paper piecing, but it gets a really cool secondary pattern that's going to start working there. The one that Annie put on her wisdom jacket, and if we can see these side by side, you can just see the beauty that fabric makes. Okay, first of all, like, so much rounds of applause, like, for Annie's coat. It is so, so pretty. It's one of my favorites. So that is the exact same style in this braided block. This is definitely going to take you the most amount of time, but it is so worth it, as you can see. And just the difference in those fabrics, the way that they read on the screen, you really get to take it and be very, very unique when you're making your own coat. We've shown them in solids because it's very easy to see the difference that are put in all of those. But as you can see, they're beautiful in prints as well. And then the last one is going to be the Twisted Triangle. And Twisted Triangle is the exact one that I put in my view A that I showed earlier when I ran it down the side. And it's going to be a pretty quick sew, but it just works on these giant secondary, triangle shapes that are going to go down. And you can run them up or you can run them down. We are not going to play directional police in any of our flying geese or in any of our braided blocks, right? You do what your heart desires. The pattern is going to walk you through for accent sleeves. It's going to, in both of the patterns, you're going to have sample unit diagrams, cut charts, coloring pages, so that way you can audition all of your fabrics before you cut into anything. And it's going to have your master foundations at 100%. You will need to copy these, and you can print out as many as you'd like and use them over and over and over again. Remember, if you are lengthening or shortening your sleeves, you might not need to use the full number that it tells you if you're shortening. You possibly might need a little bit of extra if you're lengthening. Again, those are things that individual choices that you'll have to make when you get into those patterns. But full text instructions and full add-on videos on both of those. Then we have our Bella Arcs and Beauties. So the Bella Arcs and Beauties is a foundation expansion pattern, and you're going to start with the Beauties. So that's what's going to be on the front of the coat. So I'm going to actually put this right in front of me. So you're going to get the Beauties that are going to be on the front of the coat. You're going to get 3 options for these patterns. Perfect. The first one that you're going to get is going to be this beauty that is going to serpentine down. They're all going to serpentine. This is going to be your most complicated. It's going to be a combination of flying geese and wide arcs. You're also going to get one pattern that is only wide arcs, and that is going to be, excuse me, only wide arcs. And that is going to be your least time intensive, your quickest sew. And then as you can see on my So Pink jacket that I'm wearing right now, I have done the narrow arcs in this one. So the narrow arcs are a little bit quicker. They take more time than the wide arcs do, but you get to show off lots of different fabrics in lots of different ways. So your Flying Geese beauties that are going to be on that one are definitely going to be the most time intensive. But again, juice is worth the squeeze. On this one, I did it in the gray work colors, and I started with the darkest color, and I worked out towards the light, bleeding out into the light background. So you can just really see the possibility that opens up. Your background doesn't have to stay the same in between each one of those. It really is a matter of where you want your creativity to go and where you allow yourself to stretch your boundaries. So there's no rules there. You can mix and match your fabrics however you'd like. The other fun thing is that because these are all built around the premise of basic quilt blocks, they're going to appeal to you as quilters, and they can also be mixed and matched. So if you want to do one that was just beauties, and then you want to do a wide arc, and then you want to do a narrow arc, you can mix and match these. You don't have to use all of them. You could only use part of it, and it could come out part from the zipper, for instance. It could come out from the bottom, and it could line up at the top of the yoke. You could have it just running along the bottom of your jacket that's going to exist down there on the bottom. You could use it on a bag. So that's going to be the arcs that are going to be on the front. So these are going to be your Flying Geese beauties and arcs. You're also going to get a template that is going to be perfectly sized to fit inside of that pattern, whichever one you choose. That doesn't mean you have to use the template. As you can see on my jacket, I use the template here on this side. And on this side, I did a free motion, or excuse me, a free cut, a free fussy cut of a giant motif that I wanted. So the motif can sit here and it can live on top of it, or it can be something that is just that circle and follow your template as I've done here. So you can also see some of these fussy cut motifs that I put down on some other areas to really show off those little bits of fabric. So fun portion about this. So this fabric right here, this new one, this Beauty Mark from Tula's new gray work, which is just fantastic. I used all the extra florals that were here because they were just too good to be left out. And like little things that I have popped in that, maybe my eye might notice, but where you see where it like ends on the yellow, I put my yellow on the top so it can go into the colors. Where it ends on the pink here, it's coming out purple, pink, red, orange. So it follows. So you can really get as creative as you want. Make little details just important to you. I mean, if you're the only person that notices them and knows that they're there, that's okay too. That's a part of my process, and I love that. So on the very back, you are going to get a pattern for the grand arcs. That is going to be this big beauty here. In the pattern, it's going to include all 4 of the arcs. And we're going to give you 2 different options for putting that on. As you can see, I've done the raw edge applique here, which is definitely the quicker of the 2. The pattern is going to walk you through, telling you which curves that you trim on, where you sew, our suggested stitch length if you're going to do raw edge applique. It's also going to include instructions if you want to do a traditional pieced curved arc. For those of you that have done that before, you can 100% do that. I've done that before. It just depends on the vibe that I'm going for in there. So do you have to use all 4 of them? No, absolutely not. You could do just these 2 and do this template that is sized to go in the middle there. You could do just these 2 and make your template larger. You could take a portion of it. You could mix and match them however you'd like. You can also do a big motif on the back instead of doing the template. I'm going to see if I can turn around and possibly get the back of me.
So pretty.
So I did a large motif on the back of that one. And I've also included some of these fussy cuts hanging off to the side. The pattern is going to include all the information on interfacing for those templates, so that way that you have some loft. It doesn't sink into your foundation piecing. and how to cut those out in the sequence in which to do that. So we try to think of all the things to make sure I want your experience to be as positive as possible and as enjoyable as possible. So I've given you all of my best tips and tricks, everything that I put into my coats. I have poured myself into in these patterns to make sure that your experience is awesome and that you're getting professional results that you can really, really be proud of and excited to show off because you have a skill set. So show it off.
Those are absolutely so fabulous. Grab a drink for a minute. And but what I love about it is that everybody's going to make a jacket that looks totally different. Nobody is going to have the same exact one. So that just makes it super fun. One thing to mention too is that you filmed videos to go with the coat and both expansion packs that have so many tips in those. So can you talk a little bit about how people access that video?
Yeah, so the same way that you are going to access all of your ByAnnie add-on videos, on the back side of your pattern cover is going to have the instructions. So let's say you're brand new and you've never accessed an add-on video before. Let's start there. First, welcome. Very happy you're here. Make sure that you have your free ByAnnie account. It's a free account. There's going to be tons of resources in it. Namely to mention my favorite, ByAnnie Basics. If you're brand new, make sure you create your free account, enroll in the ByAnnie Basics course for free patterns. And you're going to access your add-on video. So flip your pattern cover over to the back. It's going to have a unique coupon code, and you're going to follow the steps that are listed there. Make sure that you're logged into your account. Add the expansion pack video, the add-on video for either the expansion pack or the coat into your cart. You're then going to load the coupon code in there and click apply. It's going to zero out, and then it's going to take you through the checkout process. And that video is automatically then going to go and live inside of your downloaded courses, your online course content. One thing I do want to know is if you're getting all of the add-on videos at one time, it's only going to accept one coupon code at a time. So make sure you just go back and add those individually. So that way you're using your coupon code. And that's going to live in your ByAnnie course content digital library. So that way you can access it over and over and over as many times as you want, but super important that you're logged in first. That way, if you're not logged in, it doesn't know where to send it. It doesn't know where to store it. And you might not be able to go back and access it. So that's going to be for all of the add-on videos. In the accent sleeves and in the Bella Arcs and Beauties expansion packs, because those are foundation paper pieced patterns, you're also going to have a couple of bonus pieces in those add-on videos. It's going to be a start here for those that are brand new to FPP, an introduction to FPP. We have an intro video that's going to go over the basics of foundation paper piecing. So if you're brand new or if you need a refresher, and there's also going to be a one-page PDF that you can look at that's going to be kind of your FPP, pocket buddy, your standing, cheat guide, your sewing buddy that's going to be alongside of you. So that way you can work through all the steps, and it's going to have all of my favorite FPP tips and techniques to get you started.
That is awesome. And I'm so glad that all of this is done with FPP because it just makes it so accessible to everyone. FPP is just one of those tricks that every sewist needs to have up their sleeve in more ways than one. And once you get started, it just opens a world of possibilities. So thank you for that. So we've talked about how all the different looks you got. You've done that. Let's talk next about tools. So for people who might be new to FPP or foundation paper piecing, we talked a lot about that in last week's episode. And we talked about some of the important tools and supplies that you need. Things like an add a quarter plus ruler, Carol Doak's paper, which is super nice for printing the patterns, and then Tula's really awesome tweezers for removing the paper. So if you need information about techniques or supplies, please go back to last week's episode and watch that. So it's part 1 of this. And also be sure to ask for these supplies at your local quilt shop. If you don't have a local quilt shop or they can't get them for you, we are stocking these 3 things, the paper, the ruler, and the tweezers at ByAnnie.com, so you can get more information there as well. All right, Elissa, before we close, I want to just ask you, how did you come up with this idea? Where did your inspiration for the Bella Quilt Coat come from?
So the short answer is that I love wearing my favorite fabrics. The longer, more detailed answer is that when I really wanted to make a quilt coat, I just wasn't finding what I personally wanted in a coat. So it's kind of funny that I just stumbled into it and said, I already know how to pattern draft my own patterns. I'm going to include all the things that I love in a pattern that I wasn't already finding. And I really wanted something that, combine the beauty of quilting, because quilting is just such an art form, with the practicality and functionality of garment making. When I make a quilt, I'm one of maybe 5 people, myself included, and my 2 dogs that get to enjoy that quilt, in our home. But I would pour all of this love and all of this joy and, all these beautiful fabrics and techniques into a quilt that only a handful of people really got to enjoy. And so turning it into quilted garments is something that I can wear out all the time. And I really get to just share, the beauty of the fabric and the beauty of the art form of quilting on something that's quite literally on my back. So that really is the longer answer to it. Is just really having that opportunity to be out and about and share that. And if for nothing else, it's a conversation starter. The number of people that, will see me in a coat, or, if I've got a bag, definitely when I've got a bag and a coat or several bags and a coat, will stop and say, oh my gosh, where'd you get that? Did you make that? And the answer is yes, thank you so much. I made it. And let me share a little bit more with you about it. Share and show off the skill set that you have. We're incredibly talented as makers and sewists, and I love that. I love being able to compliment someone else on their bag, someone else on their coat, someone else that they get to make. And sometimes if the quilt's living somewhere, I might never get to see it if it's only in a picture. Getting to see it in real life is just the coolest thing. And then especially, once we're all making our coats, we're going to start to run into each other at shows and events and festivals and all sorts of fun stuff. And then we get to take the pictures and enjoy it all together. So
That's
the
going
long
to be
answer.
super, super fun. I can't wait till we have a whole room full of people in their Bella coats that we can take a picture of. That'll be neat. So if someone is worried about tackling a wearable quilt, what tips can you share?
Oh my gosh. So take it one step at a time. And you heard me do that to start with. First, take a deep breath, give yourself some grace, and just take it one step at a time. Focus on creating your mini quilts. Just start there. Make your mini quilts. Check that off your list. Square up your mini quilts. Turn your pattern to the next page. The individual components are going to add up really, really quickly. If you made a ByAnnie bag, you know that that's exactly what happens. All of a sudden, you're like, okay, it feels like I've got all this stuff to do, right? And all you have to do is just take it one step at a time. Cut and quilt. Make your mini quilts. Move to the next portion, the next part. You're going to be putting it together. You're going to be cutting those templates down. Then you're going to be attaching at the seams. You're going to be putting your pockets in. The instructions are very straightforward. Trust that I'm going to be with you the whole, every step of the way. Trust that you have an add-on video that's going to be there if you have questions. And really following, the instructions, taking the time to read those in the expansion packs are going to really make it that much less intimidating. But always, always know in the back of your head, I hope that you can joyfully hear me cheering you on and telling you, you've got this one step at a time. And I really, truly mean that.
Yeah, I agree, and that is all such good advice. And from someone who has almost finished 4 coats now, after not wearing a single or sewing a single wearable in many, many, many years, let me say it really is doable and fun, so go for it. Let's check to see if our viewers have any questions. I am guessing there are some.
Yay.
So first one on the list is, what do you think about tapering the side seams a little at the waist to give the silhouette a bit of shape? So I know you said there was a lot of ease built in here. Mine probably has a little more than some because I made mine go wider because I'm big in the hips. Can you stand up so people can see how yours fits in the waist?
So there is the slightest bit of taper. You know what? I'm going to zip mine up because sometimes that makes a difference. There is the slightest bit of taper, as you can see. I would say if you want to go that route, I'm imagining that this is a garment maker that's asking the question. So I love that. Yes, absolutely, you can do that. I would say start with a muslin. A muslin, if you're familiar with muslin, that's going to be the easiest way to test that first before you decide, oh, I'm going to create my mini quilts and then I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to taper it in and I'm going to do even more stuff. If you didn't, if you weren't pleased with the results after the fact, you've done all of that work, and I would really hate to see all of your hard work, go to waste for you to have to go back to the drawing board. So I 100% say start with a muslin, taper it, see what you think. If you love it, then I say go for it. It's your body. You're going to know what's most comfortable on you. And that's really going to be the most important, is getting the fit that's going to be the most comfortable on you. If you're like, I really don't want that, and I know that I need less of that, you could take your taper out, but 100%. And you're going to find exactly on the pattern, there is a line that says approximate waistline. That's where I'm going to encourage you that obviously is where you're going to want some of that taper to come in, because that, if you are nice and blessed with curves, I so wish that I was, that's where that's going to come in more, and you're going to want more of a shape there for sure.
Sounds
good question.
Good. All right, the next question is, can the coat be made reversible? And Casey came in a little earlier, and one thing that he asked me to show is this zipper is not designed to be a reversible zipper, but our zipper manufacturer has sent us a new kind of slide that is designed to make a zipper that would be reversible. So it's basically got two pulls on it. So when you're ready to put your pull on, you just take that and slide it in, and that enables you to have, well, if your ISO focus, you just slide it in. Wow. My eyes.
It's always at the time that but I swear it's always at the time that we try to do this, right? This always happens to me when I'm teaching too.
What's not making this one easier is that it's black either. So I'm not even going to try, because I know we're getting long on time. But basically, as you can see, it goes both ways. So one side, you're going to have the typical look of the zipper. On the other side, you're going to have almost like an invisible zipper look. And he wanted for people to put comments in and say, is this something you would be interested in having, that you could add to your ByAnnie zipper and make a zipper that would be reversible? So that, I think, is the first way to answer that question. Elissa, making the jacket reversible, I don't know that I'd want just my lining showing out on the outside with the plain fabric, but what do you think?
So I've actually done it before. What I ended up finding was I love the idea of it being reversible. What I didn't love is the jacket that I did it on. I ended up covering up all of my stuff that I had spent all the time on to put on the outside. Once it was reversible, it was gone. So I think the next time that I try it, because you can put me down for a vote, as you guys already know, for that reversible zip, I would love to explore that possibility. And in that instance, I'm probably going to opt for a view B jacket, because it's not going to matter on either side. And then I know it's going to be a quick sew. That does not mean that you couldn't do it with a view A. I've done it. Or that you couldn't add all of the rest of the stuff to it. So can it be done? Absolutely. I will say that it will have to be, for me, the next time that I do it, the combination of the right zipper and the right zipper pull, because that was one of the other reasons I wasn't pleased with it. I had a metal zipper when I did it, and I was just really not happy with that.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right.
Kind of multi-part answer there.
We are getting to past an hour and a half, and looks like a whole lot of these questions are specific to making adjustments. Like, are there directions for shoulder adjustments? What do you do if you want to have bigger shoulders, bigger arm widths, measurements and stuff? Can you, I think you've already covered that by saying, make a muslin, see what that is. And I'm just going to say, for people for specific questions like that, please email us. Just email us at info@ByAnnie. And I know Elissa is happy to give you some tips if you need that. But rather than going into a whole lot of specifics. Go ahead.
Before we go into like all the specifics on that, and then all of a sudden the email account blows up with very specific, I have this measurement of bicep, or my shoulder is here. The pattern does not include instructions for grading. It also does not include instructions for full bust adjustment or small bust adjustment. As much as I would love to be able to give my attention to every single person and say, this is exactly how you would need to size it for your specific body, I am going to say, go to the world of YouTube, give it a quick little search for pattern grading for adjusting for a full bust adjustment or a small bust adjustment. It's just another opportunity for education. There was lots of, back and forth as I was writing this pattern over the course of almost 3 years and deciding what to include, how much is too much, how much is enough, and just making this as a base introduction for garment sewing for quilters. So I really am going to, suggest that you check out YouTube, take some time, make yourself a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, grab a notebook and a pen, and, start looking at some videos and exploring what that means. What does that type of adjustment mean? Because we can't possibly answer every single question as it relates to every single body. But there are absolutely, opportunities out there, to learn and to educate yourself about how to do those things if you really need to do those things.
That's really important. And thank you for clarifying that. I would have had you really pulling your hair out there. One of the questions is what size am I wearing? And on mine, I made a size 2, but I widened it at the bottom to a size 3. So I just angled from about the waist out a little bit wider on it. So if that's helpful to anybody. The next question was, does the coat have batting in the middle, which we did talk about. Yes, you quilt your main fabric to batting. And the question was, can it be made without batting? Because she lives in a really warm climate that she made one last year and it was too hot to wear.
Yeah, so I would say try it. Make yourself a muslin, see if you're pleased with it. Obviously you are going to lose a little bit of that great quilting, that I love about it. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's a garment. And a garment doesn't have to have batting in it. It could still be patchworked. You could still put stuff on it. In that instance, I would be concerned about how weighted it's going to get down if you want to put all of the arcs and beauties and all of the other stuff on top of it. But in the accent sleeves, I don't see that being an issue. You wouldn't necessarily have to have the batting in there. I would want to make sure that everything hung appropriately on your body if you didn't put any batting on it and you wanted to do all of the things. But at the end of the day, it's a jacket with an exterior and a lining and inseam pockets and a collar and a zipper. And so your batting is going to be up to you. I am a fan of try it. You're definitely going to learn something and you might be super pleased and know, hey, I love that. It totally worked out. And then if it works out, come back and share it with all of us and let us know that it worked out, right? Because I'm sure you're not alone. That's a great question.
Yeah, and I think given the right type of fabric, like maybe a little bit heavier outer fabric, that could be really cool. I was just trying to go through these. Yep. It looks like most of these we've already covered. One question that someone asked is, she didn't see this on the pattern or on your website. Are people able to make and sell items made from this pattern?
Yes. It's going to follow the exact same as, Annie's would. We request that if you're going to, I'm going to give a 2-part answer. Can you make and sell? You can make and sell for small production scale. This is not for large mass production. So I believe that the number on a ByAnnie bag is 10. Obviously, if you plan on making 10, please email us, let us know. So that, we're aware of it. But again, the pattern is written for personal use. It's not for mass production. There's going to be lots of people that may not be able to tackle this on their own. So yes, you can make it to sell, but please limit it to 10. And just give us a shout. It's communication and we want to be able to cheer you on as well. The other thing that I wanted to note, because I have been asked this, is can I teach this coat? Yes, you absolutely can. In order to teach this coat, we're going to request that every student has their own pattern. It is not to be shared, resold, copied, redistributed. It has a full copyright on all of the pattern sheets, on all the instructions, just like all the ByAnnie patterns do. So yes, please, you can absolutely teach this in your local quilt shops. Ask for it. If you are a student that's looking for it, ask for your local quilt shop to bring it in. I love to teach it. I can't possibly be everywhere, to teach it. And so I want people to be able to access it, and teach it and learn it in person. There's nothing better than taking a class in person and accomplishing something together. So just like you would a normal, ByAnnie bag pattern, every student has to have their own pattern. And just work through the pattern one step at a time. So I know that wasn't an actual question, but 2 parts.
Yeah, and that's important. And I'm going to clarify just what you said a little bit. You said we're going to request that each person has their own pattern. I'm going to say we're going to require that each person has their own pattern.
You.
So just to make that clear, no sharing. All right. One quick question was, other than paper, pattern, and muslin, what kind of supplies do I need? It's all covered in the pattern, and basically it's stuff you already have. So it's not like you're going to need anything that's not part of your regular sewing box, other than maybe the pattern tracing paper. That's really the only thing I found that I didn't already have, or a particular type of batting. The next question was, can you put a hood on this jacket?
Maybe.
Might be coming in a future pattern. Yep, sounds good. I like that idea. And the add-on video does cover both styles of the coat, so there's great information in there. Repeat the batting part. So the batting is, the main fabric is quilted to the batting only. The lining is left separately, so you attach that separately. Could you leave the sleeves off and make a vest?
So, interesting question. And you could, but it is not going to look like a vest. So, fun fact, vests and jackets are built differently. The exterior pieces, just like if you would make a dress or a top or something like that, anything that's going to exist in your torso is going to be the same. But because of the armhole circumference and because of where the shoulder seam is set to meet your armhole, it is not going to sit like a vest. You're going to have all sorts of extra fabric that's going to hang out here. It's just not ideal in a perfect world to make sure that you're comfortable. So like in a vest, when you wear a vest, it's going to cut down and it's going to show off a little bit of your, of your top underneath that's going to be there, or whatever you have on underneath. And because of the way that the pattern has been cut and the pattern pieces, the blocks and the sloper was designed, it's not fit for a vest. If you have skills and you want to go ahead and try it on your own, try it on a muslin first. I would say that's a great opportunity to try it. But if you just take the sleeves off on its own, I think you're going to be disappointed. And I would hate for anyone to be disappointed with the fit once you do all of that work, to know that it's not going to be exactly what you're looking for.
For sure. Most of these other questions that I'm seeing are covered in the pattern, like, yes, you will pre-shrink the fabric first.
Yes.
Alyssa, we talked about what types. Someone wanted to know about knit types, flannel or fleece. We talked. You want to talk about that?
Flannel or fleece? Yeah, flannel is going to stick to what you're wearing on the inside. It's warm, it's cozy. I love the way that it looks, but I have tried it and I found that once I put my clothes into it, I went, oh, I'm not very comfortable in this with the flannel.
Things didn't slide.
Yeah, because it just didn't slide on. Minky, because it's a different substrate, it allowed me to slide, it allowed me to slide my arms right in and I was fine. But flannel and fleece, really good question. I meant to talk about that earlier, so I'm really happy that someone asked that.
Okay, what about Thermore or Thinsulate for battings? Have you tried either of those or have thoughts on those?
Absolutely. So I tried both of them. I really expected Thermore to be a really, really nice drape, because that type of batting is specifically built for quilted garments. These are phenomenal questions also. I am like so excited. It was okay. It wasn't my favorite. It was acceptable. That's how I would put it for my personal use. That does not mean that it might not be great for you and you might not love it. If you've made something from Thermore or Thinsulate before and you really, really like it, I would say use it. Continue to use it. You know it's worked before, so then go ahead and use it. It was not my preferred. I tried, I think, 10 different, at least 9 different types before I landed on what I really, really liked. So I had just muslins galore of different pockets, and did I want to do this, and where did I want the zipper guard, and how close did I want the zipper to look, to sit, and my inseam pockets, and were they going to be welted pockets or patch pockets, or I went through all of the things to land on what I really wanted out of a garment. So those are my suggestions. So good choices. Those two were not my favorites, but they were up there. They were up there.
Sounds good. One of the questions I saw earlier was, can you put patch pockets on? And I think you did a great job of explaining why you did the inseam pockets. But if somebody wanted, just like you said, for everything else, try it
Sure.
and see where you
Try
want
it and
them.
see
I
if you
don't
like
think that
it.
would be
Absolutely.
hard. Can you
Yeah.
combine pattern A sleeves with coat B? Yes, we talked about that
Yes.
earlier. Someone said if they need to lengthen it, how do they figure out how much? Basically, I would say trace your pattern pieces, lay them out on a piece of fabric, and then go do your shopping for your fabric so that you know you're getting the right amount. Can you use a twin needle when using two threads for quilting?
I get asked this all the time because I clearly have done that before. Or it looks like I've used a twin needle. Twin needle. That would be really smart if I did. I just don't, because for me, like, that's the time that I spend quilting, and I do it so often in my ByAnnie bags that I mean, I literally have a stitch that is it just sends my needle right over to where I need to do it. So the answer is yes, you can use a twin needle. No, I didn't. Everyone, I'm sure, is laughing so hard at me behind all of their screens. That's totally fine. People have laughed in front of my face when I tell them that. I just accept it with a smile and a giggle. So yeah, you 100% can. No, I didn't. Yes, I should probably absolutely do that in the future.
And there was a question about what size and type needle you use. Last week we talked a lot about needles in terms of FPP, but for just regular sewing on a garment, do you have a preference?
I like 80/12. I really do. And I like a Microtex. I tend to use Microtex on a lot of things because it's a super sharp point. And I like an 80/12 because it's not going to leave holes. Sometimes I found when I pop up to a 90, it's going to leave a hole depending on what I'm quilting on. And I really don't want those holes to show. So if it's something that's going to be applique with a monofilament, I'm going to use a 70/10. Oh, monofilament 70/10, because the monofilament's going to be fine like an 80 weight and it's not going to bounce around in the eye. But anything that's going to be a 50 weight or a 40 weight thread, I like both of those weights in garments, in garment making. I like an 80/12. That's my preference.
Perfect. Next question was, will we be making the 50-inch zippers in any other colors? We're going to see how these go and what kind of demand there is for them, but it's certainly something we always consider. And then these other questions, it looks like just people discussing quarter-inch seam allowances. You said your preferred quilt backing lining was the 108 wide backs, right?
Yes. And in particular, the sateen. I just think that that substrate is just, it's silky. It slides over all clothing. I love the way that it behaves. I love sewing with it. But any 108, it's not going to matter if you have if you are like, oh, I really don't like the sateen, that's totally fine. A 108, I can just get more out of my fabric. And I tend to have those sitting around my studio a lot. So that's my preferred.
Sounds good. Some of the questions about the raw edge applique, how does that hold up when you wash the jacket or wear it?
So because of the stitch length that we have, put into the pattern for you, it's not going to be a super wide width and a super long stitch. So you're not going to have lots of bits that are hanging off. You can definitely do something that's going to be tighter if you prefer a satin stitch. You could do something that's going to be a little bit wider. I've actually been using raw edge applique since I very first started sewing back in the spring of 2011, which is crazy. That'll be 15 years this next spring. I have been doing it all the way back since then. I just like the way it looks. I like the aesthetic of it. I did it on children's garments for 9 years that were washed and worn and washed and worn and washed and worn over my own family, multiple other families, clients all over the place. I've been doing it on my own garments, for the last 3 years. If for anything, and if I don't use a super tight stitch, I like the way that my fabric tends to get in those little teeny tiny spots, because it's just my reminder that I don't have to be perfect all the time. But I'm personally happy with it. If you are not a fan of it, you can absolutely increase the seam allowance by 1/4 of an inch, and you can turn it under. I know that Annie, you did that on something that we talked about last week, and so we went into that video. And so I'm going to just say, hey, go back and watch last week's when we talked about raw edge applique and doing like a needle turn applique, for instance. You can absolutely do that, 100%. I love raw edge. So,
and the pattern for these, I mean, for your arcs and beauties, has the seams right there. You could easily,
yep.
not easily, I mean, it would take some doing to get all of those aligned, but you could certainly do that. So that is the option. And the very last question.
And I have done that.
I think we covered
every single one of them out. Yeah.
I know. I have seen your quilt that you made doing that, and it's like, holy Toledo. But and you know, like, you wear these jackets all the time, and so it's obvious that they've been laundered and worn and abused. I've seen you at shows up and down, in and out, all around, and they definitely stand up to wear and tear. The last question is, are you planning to come out with a child size?
Maybe.
Should we say stay tuned on that one too?
Stay tuned on that one too.
All right. All right. Well, Elissa, this has really been so much fun. Thank you for sharing the coat pattern, the accent sleeves, the arcs and beauties, all of those options with us. We are so appreciative.
My pleasure. A sincere thank you to you, Annie. This has been such a creative, collaborative partnership. I love working with you. I love, working with the team. My mission is truthfully to inspire, to educate, to create with authenticity. And it has just been such a blast. It's been so much fun. I am just over the moon excited and exhausted, but mostly excited that it's out in the world and that I can finally say, yes, I've got a pattern for that. And yes, I'm so excited that you want to go and make your own. So thank you so much, everyone, for the support. For the Bella Quilt Coat, I do know that it's releasing or has released today or very soon on the ByAnnie.com website. If your local quilt shop doesn't have it, if you are a shop or retailer, ask for it through your distributors, or, obviously if you have a ByAnnie account, you can get it through them. But again, sincerely, thank you so much. It's always a treat and a pleasure to be your guest. And I really, really appreciate the opportunity to share with everyone. So thank you.
You are so welcome. And before we close, there's just one more thing I want you to tell them about. Will you please tell them about the Quilting Elissa Level Up Award that's available?
Gosh, yes. Yeah, so we introduced the Quilting Elissa Level Up Award this month. It's an award that is based upon really looking for those makers that want to push themselves outside of their boundaries and level up their work in some way. Maybe it's through making a coat, maybe it's through using one of the expansion packs, maybe it's just by showing something off and really just taking their work to the next level. So that's going to be awarded once a month with a $50 credit to ByAnnie.com. You're going to submit your picture, your story behind how you've leveled up, the patterns that you chose to use through the ByAnnie monthly photo contest. I'm sure Jake's going to put something up, or it's in the comments. It's in there somewhere that they can find it. And then those are voted on every month, and then they're awarded at the end of the month. So it's super fun. I sincerely cannot wait to see what everyone does. I can't wait to go through everything and read everyone's stories and their why behind it. It's kind of just like taking a peek behind the curtain into your creative process. And so that's it. It's just really about how you chose to authentically share your talents and level up your project.
It's going to be super fun. I can't wait to see them either. Coats, bags, all the ways that people use all of those different patterns. So just a reminder to everyone, ask at your local quilt shop for these patterns, or find them at ByAnnie.com. And don't forget to download the add-on videos for all the tutorials, and then have fun. Explore the variations, make it your own. And thank you again, Elissa, for sharing your talents, your enthusiasm, your energy, all of that with us. We are so very proud to collaborate with you, and I really can't wait to see what we come up with next. So we'll talk soon.
It's going to be fun. Bye.
All right. Take care. All right, I hope you guys all enjoyed learning more about the Bella Quilt Coat pattern and the expansion packs. Don't forget to ask for them at your local quilt shop because it's up to all of us to keep them strong and vibrant. We're always happy to set up wholesale accounts for qualified retailers, so just ask them to contact us for more information about that. Before we close, I have just two announcements about some really fun upcoming events. We have scheduled 2 fun virtual lectures for some more of the Creative Hub winners in our 2025 local quilt shop contest. So on Thursday, December 4th, I will be presenting a virtual lecture for Cut Up and Sew in Palm Coast, Florida. And I'm going to share a little behind the scenes look at ByAnnie patterns, insight into our company, and some inspiration for future projects. We're also making time for a Q&A, so if you've got some burning questions, here's your chance to ask. And you can join in person or virtually, so just visit the store's website for all the details. And that's just cutupandsew.com. And then on Friday, December 5th, the very next day, I'm going to be presenting a virtual lecture for artistic artifacts in Alexandria, Virginia. And again, we're going to talk about the ByAnnie story. We're going to share some bag sewing tips and tricks, and maybe we'll even talk about our new We Do Not Care Club. So visit artisticartifacts.com and then click on calendar to get the details for that. And we'll put up the links to both of those to make them easy for you to find. So don't miss those fun opportunities to learn and be inspired. Thank you again to everyone who joined us today. We are going to be back again next Wednesday, which is November 19th at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. So this is going to be another special episode of Live with Annie, and we are going to introduce you to our 3 other brand new ByAnnie patterns. So I can't wait to tell you about Foldy Locks, Focal Point, and Snappy Sleeves, as well as our fabulous new tool-free snaps and extra sharp awl. All of these projects are going to make great gifts that will be done in a snap, so mark your calendars now. And until next week, happy stitching!